I think we often forget about the small town. But these places have incredible people and stories and histories as well. I wanted to document these places, help them tell their stories. To do this, I traveled to a nearby town of 1,000 people in central Alaska known as Salcha. Enjoy these interviews, these memories, these stories from Salcha.
Well, my name is Sheran Benerth, and I was a teacher up here, and it was mainly the out of doors that brought me, though. We've been here about 54 years. Well, I grew up in the state of Illinois, and it was very different. We lived about a mile from the Mississippi River, so we faced floods there too and didn't change our living. The communities in the Midwest are pretty tight, pretty knitted together, but some of them, don't know quite how to explain it. I think a lot of them lead second lives. They have a day job and a night job sometimes to just keep things going. Whereas here, we depend on the land so much more and what we can harvest from it. And helping each other is a little stronger here than it was down in the Midwest. It was more of everyone for himself at times. And I've never come up against that here.
How do you remember Salcha when you first came up here?
It was very, very small. There were a couple of log cabins, there were a couple of home builds, but mostly the people lived in trailers at that time because it was the only housing available. The bases didn't have any extra housing for us, maybe at the very beginning, but it was very limited.
How is it different now than when you first came here?
It's different in the fact that there are so many people in Salcha that I don't know who they are. All are. It was easy finding help if you needed it. We were looking for a place to stay up here, to live. And like I said, the only housing available was mainly trailers. And you lived in those and fought the cold. The sheets would freeze to the walls. And it was hard. It was very difficult. You had to be strong to really overcome it. The roads were really, really bad up here. Road Commission, their main job was to plow the snow rather than to take care of potholes and things like that. And in the springtime, everyone would get stuck. It brought the people together, is what it did. And as a result of that, the population started to grow. The people here are very self-sufficient, and they have big gardens. They do all kinds of projects all year long to try and better their living conditions. They help each other. I mean, you don't even have to ask for help. For example, the state trooper got stuck in the snow out here, and every car that came by stopped, not to laugh or jeer or anything. They were all shoveling with their hands, if nothing else, trying to get the state trooper, out and on his way. And if you need anything and you don't have it in your home, get a hold of the neighbor and see if they can help you. But it really, really works here. We were flooded one time. We had 3.5 feet of water inside our home. And I got stranded on the second floor. And my husband had gone out to walk the dog, and that water came in so fast that it just inundated us. And so finally a boat came through our yard, and they hollered up and said, "Do you need anything, or do you want to get out?" And I said, "I need more firewood." I was stoking the fire upstairs with the wood stove and trying to keep the house warm because the water was ice cold and it was filling our downstairs, and we were just getting nothing but cold and colder. I stayed there for 3 days, I believe it was, before anyone got into the house, and the water started receding. But I was there by myself. It was really learning experience. I taught girls physical education in the high school at Eielson, and loved every minute of it. I taught all the kids how to ski, cross-country ski, and we ordered skis and we got a few pair and we'd rotate them through the students, and I am real proud of starting so many kids out on the cross-country skiing, because it flowed over into the elementary school here too, and so they've become very active in their cross-country skiing. The trails were put in by the local people here. Darrell Cole was the principal at one point. He was the last principal that I worked with at that point, and he was very enthusiastic about it. His son became a real championship skier, as well as several others here in the area, and they've traveled all over the country, and some have been overseas even, skiing. So it's been a big influence, I think, for the community and for the whole area. My biggest contribution, I think, to the community was I started the emergency services here. And I became an EMT while I was working as a teacher. And we got a couple together. The state trooper, Betty Zabek, was out here in this area at that time. She lived in a trailer out at Harding Lake. That was the troopers' headquarters here at that time. And we went around door to door talking to people and asking them, what's the one thing you would really like to see safety-wise in the community? And they all said, we need an emergency service, whether it's just an ambulance or an ambulance and a fire truck or a fire truck by itself. We need help out here, and we do, because it was, we were just isolated from everybody else, especially in the winter. And Eielson would help when they could, when there was a call out for an emergency. But if their ambulances were busy, we were out of luck. So we had the old mental attitude here of toss them in the back of a pickup and drive them to town. So we improved on that. Betty and I went door to door and solicited volunteers to get free training to become an EMT, with the obligation of at least 1 year of service to the organization, and we felt that was more than fair. And so we built a 2-bay garage for the hopefully a fire truck someday, and an ambulance. The ambulance came first, and through donations we outfitted the ambulance. EMS services in town also helped. So it was more than a community effort. It became a larger effort than that. And we've blossomed now to where we have 2 or 3 fire trucks and 2 ambulances and a rescue vehicle, and very well trained staff. So I'm really proud that I was in on starting that for the community. But one of the most interesting ones was we had a snow machiner who had a cabin up the Salcha River, and he took off and went up to his cabin, and it was so cold. It was close to 30 below. It was so cold out there that we had people bring over snow machines, and they were going to go up and see if they could get him. He hit a log on the way up, and his skis went underneath the log, and he got tossed forward, and it broke his back. And so we knew we were in dire straits, and he was even in worse condition, and we had to get up there in a hurry. Called for helicopter support from Eielson, and they said, and it was snowing too, even though it was 30 below, and they said they couldn't fly in it, that they couldn't do it, couldn't send a helicopter out. It was up just too far, and the canyons got too small, and the visibility was just nothing. So a couple of our local people brought over snow machines, and we formed a kind of a group going up to see if we could get him out and get him into this, get some help physically. We started out, and someone else had heard the radio but couldn't answer the radio. they just headed one way. And they found out that someone was bringing him down, and we had no idea how bad he was. So we continued on until we met them, and gave him a shot of morphine and tied him into the sled. And the poor guy, I don't know how he made it without losing his voice from squealing and screaming, but you know, your heart just goes out to them when they're hurting so bad, but you've got to get them out. And that was probably the most influential run that I ever went on. I went on quite a few others. People getting fancy out on the lake apparently after they had had a few drinks, and running into docks on water skis. And we've had one where a little boy shot his brother with a BB gun, and it went into his throat area, so we had to get him into town real fast. This was all before we had an ambulance, and so it probably made the biggest impression on my mind to remember those.
Well, again, thank you so much.
You're certainly welcome. Good luck on your whole project.